On June 15, 2020, the Supreme Court issued a monumental ruling for the LGBTQ community. According to this ruling, employers can no longer discriminate an employee based off of their sexual orientation or gender identity. I'm attorney Sina Rez Rezvanpour. If you are not a lawyer but you still enjoy thinking like one, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Now let's go ahead and get started breaking down this decision. The way the Supreme Court arrived at this ruling is by looking at Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. According to Title VII, discrimination based off of race, religion, ethnicity, and sex are all prohibited. So the Supreme Court interpreted the term sex to encompass gender identity and sexual orientation, and they said that you cannot divorce one from the other. As a quick recap, the Supreme Court is the highest court in the U.S. They make decisions on cases that often affect generations of Americans. The Supreme Court is made up of 9 justices. Each Supreme Court justice is appointed by a president, and most of them are appointed by different presidents. Now, in theory, the Supreme Court is not political. They're apolitical, but it's an open secret that each justice carries their own political affiliation. Currently, the court is made up of 5 conservative justices and 4 liberals. The 2 most recent appointees were made by President Trump. I think everyone will remember when Justice Kavanaugh was appointed, and before him, Justice Gorsuch was appointed, who actually authored the opinion in this case. That means that he wrote the decision. He wrote the logic that they used to get to making this decision, which honestly comes as a big surprise. I think most people would have assumed that a conservative Supreme Court would have ruled against expanding rights for homosexuals and trans people. It would be fair to assume that the 4 liberal justices would vote in favor of expanding rights for the LGBTQ community. But what's surprising is that they were actually able to get 2 of the conservative justices on board. The 2 conservative votes in favor of this decision came from Chief Justice Roberts and from Justice Gorsuch, which was a Trump appointee. There were 3 dissenters, one of which was Justice Kavanaugh. I haven't actually read through his dissent yet, but it sounds like he's taking a strict constructionist approach. What a strict constructionist is they say that we should read the language of the law literally. What the dissent fears is that the terms in Title VII of the Civil Rights Act are being construed too broadly. And if a law is being construed too broadly, then it may be difficult to interpret. And if a law is difficult to interpret, then it's probably too easy to violate that law. I'm embarrassed to admit that even me, as a lawyer, I had no idea that in the majority of the US, in 27 states, it was entirely legal up until this decision, meaning in 2020, for an employer to fire an employee based on their sexual preference or their gender identification. So not only are we seeing history being made out in the streets, we're seeing history being made in the highest court of the land. I'm attorney Sina Rez Rezvanpour, and this is not legal advice.